Hi guys, Frost here. Welcome back to another classic WoW video. Today's topic is going to be weapons. Now, there are a lot of weapons iconic to vanilla WoW, and it's going to be hard to choose 7 for this video. That's why I'm not going to use any from naxxramas or legendaries. But instead, we're going to look at early game weapons that had huge impact in the way a class was played, or items that were highly desired, hard to obtain, items that sometimes could drive a man crazy. With classic WoW just around the corner, making this video was both nostalgic and exciting. Nostalgic because at one point we chased most of those weapons, and exciting because soon we'll have the opportunity to do it again. Take note, this is not supposed to be a top, so the order of the weapons is not important. Without further ado, let's get right into it. One of the first weapons for today is Ironfoe, the legendary orc-slaying hammer created by Franklorn Forgewright, Master Mason of the Dark Iron clan. Forgewright gave it to the ancestor of Marshal Reginald Windsor. Windsor eventually did receive the hammer. Ironfoe would, however, fall into the hands of Emperor Dragan Torisan, when Marshal Windsor was kidnapped by the Dark Iron Dwarves and held prisoner at Blackrock Mountain. Ironfoe was crafted from a single massive block of dark iron, sculpted into a perfect symmetrical shape. Dwarven runes are carved in relief on its surface, suggesting correctly that this is a weapon of great power. Ironfoe is a dark iron battle axe of instinct that feels perfectly comfortable in its wielder's hand, despite its obvious heft and weight. Ironfoe's proc was Fury of Forgewright, which granted not 1 but 2 extra attacks on the next swing and caused the wielder to speak Dwarven for 10 seconds. This was effective for Alliance and Horde characters alike, and it allowed Horde wielder to communicate with nearby Alliance dwarves through Say and EL. Many warriors embarked into the journey for Ironfoe, spending days, months, in order to obtain a weapon with equal powers of a Blackwing Lair weapon, and with the proper world buffs, viable up to AQ 40. Some of them obtained it even before reaching 60, some of them, in quiet desperation, never seen it. Benediction and Anathema. For a priest, it represented the ultimate in weapons, a staff designed to assist with the greatest of healers, or the darkest of shadow specs. For others, the staff was a signal that the healer they just ran into was one of the few and highly skilled, capable of keeping them alive in the toughest of situations. Though epic in quality, the staff Benediction was more like a legendary in stats and appearance. Clicking on Benediction wouldn't give you wings or turn you into a mount. Instead, the staff transformed into Anathema, a completely different staff with a completely different set of stats. There has never been another weapon released with Benediction glimmering golden model, or with Anathema's dangerous silver spines. Benediction is no longer obtainable in-game, it was removed when Cataclysm was introduced. But for vanilla and future classic WoW players, luckily enough to get the appropriate quest drops, Benediction represented the best of the best in healing staves for the majority of the original iteration of the game. Others looked at the weapon with skepticism, but the lucky priest who wielded it knew there was more to the staff than just a set of beautiful stats. 2 beautiful vanilla daggers, and so early in the game. Now, some of you will go like, but Frost, why didn't you pick the Barman Shanker? That's old school. And I have my reasons. First, I had the Perdition blade on my rogue, and second, the core Hound to it was the reason I quit my guild back in vanilla from an officer position. I was playing a hunter, and they gave the bloody dagger to a rogue instead of the top DPS hunter, me. You know, back then everything was a hunter item. Eventually I got back into the guild and got used to the idea that the weapon might be better suited for a rogue. We all started somewhere, so no hate. And yes indeed, them daggers have rogue written all over them. What I like about them is not the great stats or the cool design, but the size of them. Those were not some small rusty daggers you collected from killing some orcs, those were daggers forged by giants, and to get them you had to kill the giants. They were very good both PvP and PvE, and suited for all 3 specs. In Molten Core and through BVL progression, the combat dagger spec was pretty OP, and for PvP I think most of you remember the old videos from Grim. Path of Blood, Total Annihilation, and not only. All said and done, Perdition Blade and Core Hound Tooth will be one of the reasons why the Rogue class will be overpopulated in Classic WoW. The Whirlwind Axe. Warriors didn't have it easy early vanilla, from being one of the hardest classes to level to having to spend the most amount of gold for item upgrades. Lionheart Helmet, Titanic Leggings, Headmaster Gauntlets, Arcanite Reapers, and so on. You see, Warrior is one of the classes that scale very good with gear. Unfortunately, early vanilla there wasn't that much gear available. But somewhere mid-journey, Warriors were presented with a class quest that had a reward equal with the difficulty of the quest. At level 30, the warrior trainer offered a quest called the Islander, which sent the young warrior on a journey across Azeroth. At the end of the chain quest, he had to choose between 3 weapons: a sword, a mace, and an axe. Most adventurers chose the axe, and not because of its size or the fancy looks, but due to the speed of it. Whirlwind Axe was a slow, giant weapon, capable of doing huge crits. Finally, the warrior was getting a glimpse of what to come, a taste of power, a little bit of motivation to push for level 60 and achieve greatness. Okay, enough with the gibberish. The axe had the stats of a level 40 weapon, obtainable at level 30, and most warriors used it until level 50. The joy of acquiring it was equivalent to the joy of obtaining an epic piece of gear. Headmaster's Charge. Back in vanilla, Skullman's was one of my favorite dungeons. I was playing a hunter, and believe it or not, people didn't really run Skullman's. They preferred UBRS, Blackrock Depths, Stratholme, and pretty much anything else. I don't judge them, the dungeon didn't drop an Ironfoe, neither a rare mount or some pre-best in slot swords, or you get the point. On top of this, Skullman's was way harder and took longer to complete compared to other dungeons. The last boss, Darkmaster Gandling, dropped with a very low chance a stuff called Headmaster Charge. At a first glance, the stuff didn't look like something special, but compared to what was available at that time, it was pretty decent for a warlock. I think I did over 50 runs with a guildmate that was obsessed about this stuff. He never got it. How he felt can be explained by Mute from World of Warcraft.
And there's only one warlock epic weapon outside of Molten Core. That is the Headmaster's Charge that drops from Darkmaster Gandling and Skullman's. But apparently, Blizzard felt this item should only be included in the game as a joke. The staff has a 1 in 500 chance of dropping, but it's the only epic staff geared for warlocks that can drive a warlock mad. I wanted this staff. I wanted it bad. I farmed for it for over 3 months. I ran Skullman's over 200 times. 5 times a day for over 3 months. And this is before the recent nerf to Skullman's. This was back when an average run took 3 hours. We got it down to under an hour and a half. Over and over and over. I saw countless others get the items they came for. That damn staff never dropped.
Should've just picked up a crow blade from the auction house like me. Only took me 30 seconds. You can use swords, use a firestone.
For hunters, vanilla WoW was the pinnacle of weapons. A bow with incredible powerful stats. But Rhok Delar wasn't without its issues, mainly concerning the ability to change the bow into a staff, but not being able to use both staff and bow at the same time. This was eventually changed so that hunters could have both Rhok Delar and its counterpart Lok Delar, Stave of the Ancient Keepers, after completing the Rhok Delar quest chain. And if that weren't enough, hunters also could obtain the Ancient Sinew Wrapped Lamina, a 24 slot bag perfect for carrying around all the arrows a hunter could ask for. Though all 3 of those items were only epic in quality, like Benediction, Rhok Delar represented a legendary test of skills for the player who tried to obtain it. Although Benediction only had 1 event for priests to frenetically heal through, Rhok Delar contained 4 of those trials, all of which had to be completed without even a pet to assist. It was a brutal test of shooting, traps, and hunter kiting, but those who completed the chain were richly rewarded. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Bonereaver's Edge, one of the best two-handers pre-IQ 40. Through the course of vanilla, this item was changed several times, but even with all the changes, Bonereaver Edge was still better than it should. You look at it and one thing comes to mind, PvP weapon. And it's indeed one of the best, but this beauty was not only a PvP item, it was a high-end PvE monster also. Two-handed Fury warriors were slicing to trash mobs like a knife goes through butter. To give you an example, in my tests, Bonereaver Edge vs Grand Marshal Claymore with Blackwing Lair best in slot gear and fully world buffed, results are the following. While 3 stacks of proc from Bonereaver Edge were active, the damage with Cleave and Whirlwind was 25% higher than Grand Marshal Claymore, which doesn't make any sense. Keep in mind this was with the final version of the weapon from patch 1.12. This is a highly desired weapon and not only for warriors in premage, zerging the blacksmith like there's no tomorrow, but for high-end PvE guilds that will make speedruns in raids. BRE, it's a beast all the way to AQ 40, clearing trash, and even in boss fights such as Majordomo Executus, where a skilled warrior could have pulled up to 1000 DPS. Blizzard announced that Classic will be released in the final version of 1.12, as I was expecting. But I'm curious if its BRE will be released in the version of 1.5 or 1.12. What case will be, this is still a highly desired item, and there will be a lot of competition for it. And some honorable mentions. The Dalaran sword set, a beautiful set of swords, pre-raid best in slot for warriors and rogues, but let's be honest, everyone knows Dalarans are made for hunters. The Pendulum of Doom, the slowest axe in game, best in slot for the level 39 twink bracket. It will definitely be rare and valuable in the upcoming classic with prices going from 300 to 500 gold, that's an estimated guess. Crawlblade, a BoE epic sword, great for pre-raid swords in combination with Mira's song from Skullman's Quest, or you could just put it on the auction house for a couple of 100 gold and save yourself a week of grinding. The Grand Marshal two-handed sword, one of the most beautiful two-handers in vanilla, and the stats are just OP, but due to how hard it was to obtain, it only gets a spot in our honorable mentions. Dark Edge of Insanity, because I would be insane not to mention it. People would jump at my throat, but Frost, you forgot the Dark Edge of Insanity. Nevertheless, not too many people had the opportunity to obtain this. Loc Amir il Romantis. Sounds Italian. The last item for today, because casters need some love also. One beautiful mace that made a lot of paladins and shamans happy. Thanks for watching, guys. What's your opinion about the weapons chose today? Do you think I missed one particular weapon? Let me know. If you want to see something specific about Classic WoW, please make sure to leave your suggestions in the comment box below, and remember to like this video. Until next time, stay frosty.